Hello. Happy Tuesday. I'm coming on live a little bit later than I normally come on live and also on a totally different day. But I'm just going with the flow. Hang on. What do I say? Every single time I go live, I always have to sneeze. Whew! There it is. Oh my goodness. I've already restarted this live more than once, so I'm not going to start it again. All right. So I'm Julie with Balance Life with Julie. I'm a regenerative health practitioner and a holistic nutritionist. And today I wanted to come on live to talk to you about parasite cleansing. It is springtime. Parasite cleansing is kind of sort of my jam. It is what I talk to people about the most. And I had a friend call me earlier today sorry, I'm going to turn my phone off so my phone doesn't start ringing in the middle of this live. So I had a friend, we do have a full moon coming up, and full moon is the perfect time to parasite cleanse because parasites tend to be more active around the time of the full moon. And so he called me up and he was wondering like what kind of protocol to follow. And thankfully, he's already been very, very mindful of his diet. So he can pretty much hop into a parasite cleanse anytime he wants in the next few days. So there are different ways to parasite cleanse. I wanted to come on and just share some tips and some best practices. First thing first, it's always really, really important to address your diet. Start to focus on gut health. Make sure your elimination pathways are open and do some heavy metal detox before you start parasite cleansing. And so I'm going to explain a little bit on each of these topics and then also share with you some of the different protocols that I use for parasite cleansing. I work with several different protocols and I really work with the protocol depending on the person and the situation and what is going on for them. So, all right, first thing is first, diet. If you do not transition your diet, you are going to most likely have a situation where you're just going to be expelling parasites nonstop when you're on anti-parasitic herbs, and it's going to feel like the parasites are never going to stop coming. So what do I mean by transitioning the diet? I mean, ideally, you want to become 100% whole food plant-based, as high raw as possible, because especially getting into more astringent fruits like the citrus fruits, watermelon, we're going into summer. So watermelon is really great. Grapes are amazing. Actually, I had some grapes right before I started this video. I love grapes, red grapes specifically. But what those astringent fruits do is they move the lymph, they start to alkalize the body and allow things to mobilize and be cleared out. So transitioning your diet to 100% whole food plant-based is ideal. Obviously, getting rid of processed foods, processed sugars, meat, dairy. And the reason really is that those foods tend to be very acidic in the body. And an acidic condition in the body is part of the reason why parasites are attracted to certain types of terrain. And then the other thing is that certain types of food are going to be more, they're going to have parasites in them. For example, fish. Fish is laden with parasites, and it's the perfect way to put more parasites into your body. The other thing is, I just want to hit on this real quick. I was thinking about this before I started the live is, we are mostly made up of microbes. We are 10x more microbial than we are human. But what makes the difference between, a friendly microbe and an unfriendly microbe is really the relationship that we have with certain types of microbes. So, for example, when a symbiotic relationship is there's give and take, right? We have bacteria within our gut, and that bacteria, helps to break down the food, helps to, metabolize it and whatnot. And so it's a symbiotic relationship. The bacteria gets fed, and we have our food break down the way we need it to be broken down before absorption and utilization. But where it becomes an unhealthy relationship and is when we are dealing with microbes or organisms within our body that are stealing our nutrients and creating imbalance within the body, meaning that maybe you're dealing with brain fog or you're dealing with fatigue, a lot of chronic aches and pains or inflammation, mood dysregulation, cravings. This is a sign that the microbes that you're dealing with are putting you more into a state of imbalance, especially if they're stealing nutrients like B vitamins or iron. And that's going to create imbalance within the body. And obviously, it's not a give or take, give and take relationship. It's more like the parasites are taking and taking and taking, leaving you in a state of depletion. So obviously, that is not the type of relationship that we want. So when you're dealing with microbes like that are creating imbalance, that are feeding illness and dis-ease within the body, those are the microbes that we want to get rid of. Now, of course, we don't want to get rid of all the microbes. We need most of the microbes we need to survive. We only want to get rid of the ones that are creating problems. That said, I'm a big proponent of doing parasite cleansing in the spring and the fall. You don't have to always be on a parasite cleanse, but it is really, really important to do it at least a couple times a year because it is so easy to pick stuff up. It just is, right? Like I've shared many times before, I have 3 beautiful dogs, but they go outside and they're in the grass and they're around other animals. So the chances of them not picking up something is almost pretty much zero. And so because I have dogs, because I hug my dogs, I pet my dogs, the chances of them transferring something to me is very, very possible. The other thing is you can pick them up just from like breathing in like whatever might be in the atmosphere. And of course, food is another big one. So before you start parasite cleansing, really, really important to transition the diet to 100% whole food, plant-based, ideally. And then make sure that your elimination pathways are open. So you have to make sure that you're going to the bathroom, number 2, multiple times a day. If that is not happening, what's going to happen for you is as you start taking anti-parasitic herbs, you may experience more constipation and a lot of uncomfortableness within your body because you're not eliminating properly. So before you start any type of detox, parasite cleanse or otherwise, it is really, really important to make sure that your elimination pathways are open. And a big part of that just has to do with changing the diet because so many people are eating foods that are very, very processed, that are hard for the body to break down and digest. It creates a lot of stagnation within the body. So one of the sayings, at least in the holistic health space, is that if you're eating 3 times a day, you need to be pooping 3 times a day. And if that's not happening, that means that you probably are dealing with some level of constipation. Heavy metal detox is also really, really important prior to parasite cleansing. There are certain parasites that feed on heavy metals. And so if you start to detox from heavy metals, what that will do is it'll allow the food that some of those parasites consume, it'll allow that food to not be available, which will create a situation within your body where the parasites become a little bit weaker. And then by the time you introduce anti-parasitic herbs, it's a lot easier to flush them out. So I use a couple of different tools. There is a blood upgrade that I recently started working with that also not only does it address parasites, but it also removes heavy metals, spike proteins, microplastic, chemicals. So I love using that. The complete blood upgrade program is 4 months long. It is 12 weeks because that is how long it takes for, actually, no, it's 4 months long, excuse me. It's 4 months long. And it actually takes the full 4 months for our red blood cells to turn over. So it is a complete 4-month long program. And what it does is it helps to open up the microcirculation within the body, which allows more oxygen and nutrients to get to all the different cells and tissues. And more importantly, along with that upgrading and opening up the microcirculation and the microvessels within the body, what happens as a byproduct of it is that you're eliminating heavy metals, chemicals, spike proteins, certain parasites, as well as microplastics. So it's a pretty powerful protocol. But that's one way to address heavy metals. I also utilize this. It's called Cell Defender. It also removes heavy metals from the body. And I love this particular one because what it does is it goes through the entire body, and it even pulls out certain viruses. Whatever metals should not be there, like arsenic, lead, the metals that we don't want in our system, it'll actually flush them out of our body through the urine. So it's pretty cool. Completely non-toxic, as everything that I work with is always completely non-toxic, no side effects. Anyone can utilize them. So the blood upgrade, as well as the Cell Defender to remove heavy metals, if you're pregnant or you're breastfeeding, you can utilize these protocols as well. And in fact, I have several pregnant and breastfeeding women on these protocols, and especially when it comes to parasite cleansing, because I can't use some of the other anti-parasitic herbs that I work with because they're not recommended for women who are pregnant or breastfeeding. The herbs that are utilized in the blood upgrade are actually really perfect for parasite cleansing for anyone who is pregnant or breastfeeding. So those are some of the things that I utilize in terms of heavy metal detox, as well as addressing parasites. And then in terms of anti-parasitic protocols, one of my favorites is the transformation. It is linked up below if you want to check the caption below this video. But the great thing about the transformation is it actually has a diet portion to it. So you're going to be on superfoods, ideally for at least 20 days before you start the anti-parasitic herbs. And the way that I like to do this particular program is, the full program is 90 days. I think of it as a complete diet and lifestyle upgrade, because you're going to be putting this blend of pure, potent food into your body, superfoods into your body, and it really helps to nourish at the cell level. And not only that, but these particular foods, they're completely non-GMO. They are regeneratively grown, so even higher quality than organic foods. And so aside from the diet upgrade part of it, there's a gut support that you have in the program, something called Biomedic, which helps to address leaky gut, helps to remove chemicals and heavy metals from the gut, and also seals up the tight junctions of the gut. So there's a gut support component to it. And then there's a anti-parasitic component to it. So I love it because it's such a complete program, and it's less than $13 a day. And everybody's already eating anyway. So what this program does is it's actually an invitation to you to transfer over some of those grocery dollars into a program that is going to give you much higher quality and much better vitality and bang for your buck, so to speak, within that program. And the way that I like to do the parasite cleansing part of it is 10 days on, 14 days off the anti-parasitic herbs, and then again 10 days on. And then there's a full 30 days where you're just on the superfoods, continuing to work on the gut. And what I love about this program is because there is that gut support element in it, most people I find have really poor absorption. They might be eating, they might be trying to be more mindful when it comes to their diet, but because their gut is really, really damaged due to chemicals and heavy metals and pharmaceuticals, what ends up happening is even if their diet is pretty decent, a lot of the nutrients aren't actually getting absorbed into the body. So that's huge, especially if you're dealing with nutrient deficiencies or you're dealing with chronic health issues. Chances are that even if you are trying to be very, very mindful when it comes to your diet, most of what you're putting into your body isn't actually getting absorbed or utilized properly by your body. And so that's why the improving the quality of nutrients going in and just putting a lot more high quality nutrients into your body makes the likelihood of actually some of that nutrition getting to the cells a lot better. And then the other thing is, my personal thing is, I love using this particular molecular hydrogen bottle with frequencies, because what I find is that, and I have put this under the microscope, is that you're allowing more of that nutrition because molecular hydrogen, it's the smallest molecule in the world. When you combine this with the superfoods, you're actually allowing that nutrition to get pulled into the cells. So you're getting a lot better utilization from the nutrients that you are putting in. And I have had many clients the last year and a half say to me that they have felt an improved function in their overall gut health as a result of going on to the molecular hydrogen. So the info for that is also below the video. So I love pairing certain modalities together, because to me, it just makes so much sense. Superfoods are food and this is water. So pairing these two tools together is incredibly powerful. So in terms of the parasite cleansing, I either like to start with the blood upgrade or the transformation with the super cleanser, which does the parasite cleansing for 2 rounds. Those are usually my go-tos. And then after that, I like to see where someone is at and if they want to go deeper. And then if they do want to go deeper, we'll probably do like a month of just maintenance. And then there are different herbs that I will utilize, herbs that are only available to practitioners. And then we might do a period of where we do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on, or sometimes maybe a month at a time with certain herbs. Sometimes what I like to do is do a plant enzyme protocol before we do any more antiparasitic herbs. So we'll do the plant enzyme protocol over a period of 7 days, which often, if I have someone on the molecular hydrogen with frequencies, we'll use a lot of the recovery frequencies as they're doing their plant enzyme protocol. We'll do some juicing, some superfoods along with it, and then we'll go in with some anti-parasitic herbs. When I do that particular protocol, I have people who release so many parasites. And even myself, when I do a protocol that way, it's amazing how much more garbage literally comes out of my body. So a couple things that I want to mention before I switch the topic. When it comes to parasite cleansing, it's always interesting to me, like how many people are really curious about parasite cleansing and then they don't follow through when it comes to the protocols because they freak themselves out because they don't like this idea of like, oh my goodness, there are these things in their body. The thing is, everyone has parasites. And if you prepare your body correctly, it's not going to be uncomfortable. You're not going to have like a lot of extreme physical things going on or emotional things going on. Will there be some of that? Yes, for sure. Because here's the thing, when you're trying to do a parasite cleanse and you start to have certain herbs, put certain herbs into your body, the parasites don't like it. Parasites, they want to live. They want to live forever in your body using your nutrients to survive. And so knowing that, it's really, really important to understand that some of what you might be experiencing emotionally, it's not your emotions, it's emotions that belong to the parasites, because maybe they're sad about being kicked out of, their space, or they're anxious about being kicked out, or they're depressed. I mean, I know it sounds kind of out there and far-fetched as I say it, but what I have experienced is that when I'm doing like deeper parasite cleansing, I may have periods where I'm really craving sugar, or I'm craving bread, or I'm feeling like depressed or sad, and there's no logical explanation as to why I might be depressed or sad. And then if I really tune into my body and ask myself, like, what is going on? The download that always comes through is like, those emotions are not my emotions. Those emotions belong to these entities that are within my body that I'm trying to kick out. So those are things to be aware of. And if you really properly prepare yourself, and then also mentally prepare yourself, it's a lot easier to navigate that. And, if you're dealing with autoimmune conditions, or really any kind of chronic health issue, parasites are definitely a factor. So this isn't something that you want to ignore and pretend that it doesn't doesn't exist. And once you do like some deeper parasite cleansing, ongoing, you'll just be doing like a lot lighter type protocols spring and fall. So yeah, that's all I wanted to that's all I wanted to say about that. Um, all right, I wanted to talk about mindset. I love talking about mindset because to me, like, so much of everything is energy and frequency, and the attitude with which we show up, especially when nobody is watching, when you don't have anyone standing there clapping for you, but that you still show up and do the right thing, you know? And the reason that I say that is that because everything is energy and frequency, the more that you give, the more that you really put out, honestly, from the purest, most loving space within you, you put that energy out there, it's going to come back to you tenfold. And most people don't live their life that way. Most people think like, well, what am I going to get? If I do this, what am I going to get? Right? And that's exactly the backwards way of doing life. Sorry, I got to have some water because I am dehydrated and really feeling it. I wanted to actually share with this particular bottle. There is some really cool features, but there's actually a little, I don't know if you can see it. There's a little hole at the bottom of the bottle, and that hole is what helps to release the oxygen. Because when you're doing the cycle, the hydrogen cycle, and you see the bubbles, the hydrogen gas is going up, but then the oxygen needs to be expelled out of the base of the bottle, because you don't want that. It's a bit of a dirty process. You don't want that ending up back in your water. So sometimes I have people ask me about the price of this bottle, and it's priced the way that it is because the membrane in the base of the bottle is the highest quality membrane in the world. There are a lot of hydrogen bottles on the market that are actually leaching chemicals and metals into the water that people are drinking. And, I get it. Sometimes people want to save $1, and there are some things that you definitely do want to save $1. When it comes to technology like molecular hydrogen, this is where you want to actually invest in the best. And I know that this bottle has been third-party tested by 2 independent labs, and there are no metals or chemicals leaching into the water. That's really, really important. You want to make sure that when you're drinking molecular hydrogen, that you're not, the byproduct that you're drinking isn't full of chemicals and metals, because they haven't created a proper bottle. So that's kind of cool that at that hole is what's releasing the oxygen out of the base of the bottle. Anyway, so what I was saying about how you show up and the energy with which you, my hair is like frizzy now, the energy with which you show up, even when no one can see what you're doing and you're just there doing the right thing because it is the right thing to do. And it is really, really important. I'm going to share a really quick story with you. So this morning I had to drop my girls off to get their hair cut. And after I dropped them off, I drove by. I was driving on the street, and there was unfortunately a dead rabbit on the road, and his body was in such a place where another car could have hit him. Obviously, a car hit him, which is why he was where he was, but more cars could potentially drive over his body. So, I had a decision to make. I had a busy day, had things I wanted to do, a lot of work stuff going on. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to drive home. I'm going to ask Michael, my other half, to come with me. And we're going to find a place to put this poor soul so somebody doesn't drive over him again and again and again. So I did that. I came home. I recruited Michael into my little mission, and we went back to where this poor being was. And, I brought a shovel. I don't know why I brought a shovel, but in the end, I just had on my gardening gloves and I just picked him up. And thankfully, where he was, there was like a little ravine and trees. And so I picked up his body and, apologized to him for whatever happened to him. And then I brought him to the ravine and just found a nice spot under a tree, and I left him there, and we came back home. Now, why did I do that? Why not? I thought in the instant, I've got a lot of things going on today. It's a busy day for me. I don't necessarily have time to drive home, get a shovel, come back to deal with this situation. But whenever there is an opportunity to do the right thing and to be kind to others, it's how you show up really, really matters, and any kindness that we put into the field, any kindness that we put into the universe, it reverberates and it raises the collective vibration. This is why in a lot of times when like, say you talk to somebody who's a spiritual teacher who maybe you're learning meditation or yoga from, and they will tell you that if you really want to change the world, you actually want to just work on yourself. And it seems like such a selfish thing to do, but in actuality, it's the most powerful thing that you can do. Because if you can be a kinder, calmer, more like a well-adjusted individual, and you can just be kind to everyone around you, not to mention that as you do your meditation practice or you do prayer practice or gratitude practice, and you really allow yourself to come into that frequency, you're actually raising the vibration, and that impacts everyone around you, right? So one of the things that I've had people say to me over the years, even without them knowing my practices, because I don't necessarily advertise that to my neighbors or to, let's say if somebody's coming to my house to drop off something or make a delivery, I don't necessarily advertise what I do on a daily basis in terms of my spiritual practice. But one of the things that people always comment on is that when they come into our home, how they feel really calm, how they feel like there is a different energy, right? And so that's really what I'm talking about, is that when we show up energetically from a very kind, compassionate, aligned space, we have the ability to not only improve the quality of our life, because the way we interact with the world is very different. It's not coming from a reactive place. But the bonus is that that energy starts to affect everything around us and everyone around us, and it actually lifts the collective vibration. Now imagine we have 8 billion people on planet Earth. Imagine if 8 billion people committed themselves to some kind of a daily spiritual practice, whether it's meditation, prayer, whatever it is, connecting to their heart center and making a commitment to be more compassionate and kind. Imagine if we had 8 billion people doing that on a daily basis. We would literally birth a new earth. But we don't have, unfortunately, we don't have 8 billion people doing that type of work. But the more people that we have, going inwards and working on themselves and doing this type of practice, the more we will see the world evolve and become a better place for all. So, I wasn't really planning on sharing that rabbit story, but I hope it illustrates for you that we have so many opportunities over the course of the day to be kind to others, whether it's holding the door open for someone or just smiling at someone. You don't know, like some people are going through some interesting times right now. So even having a stranger give them a little smile or be kind to them in some way, that could really transform someone's day. So as after you've watched this video, as you step into your day, whenever you happen to see this video, whatever opportunity you have to practice kindness, please do it. Please do so. And I would love to hear your stories, of course, in the comments. Feel free to put it into the comments what you played around with, what you experimented with in terms of practicing kindness, and what was the result. And of course, if you are looking to elevate your health and you want to address the root cause of chronic healing or chronic illness within your body and really look at addressing autoimmune conditions, parasites, that kind of stuff, I have an amazing program called Elevate. There is live videos for that every single week, plus of course all the recorded content, recipes. There's a membership community as well as a part of that group. And of course, resources as well as tips and tools. Sorry, Coco is sitting right over there and she's like completely captivated by me talking on video. So you can check out Elevate, check out the links below this video and, see some of the things that I work with, utilize for my own personal health and what I work with and utilize for clients as well. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. I want to be able to continue to make this content for you and keep sharing information related to holistic health. And then, feel free to share this video with anyone you think would really resonate with this message. Thank you for being a part of my online community, and I look forward to seeing you in the next live. Bye for now.